Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, Motor City Mad Mouth, and we have a four-man crew tonight. And before I turn to them, we got lots of everything tonight. We're going to be talking football, playoffs, baseball, and more. Yes, Rick Curdy, you do get to talk about your favorite sport, although you're getting better on all of them now. So I have to go out there and say here at the top of the show here, Mr. Curdy has evolved as a journalist. So I don't know if we're going to call him Mr. Opinion. Oh, no, but we won't call him Mr. Journalist at all because I have that say for JB Ellis and I when we do the celebrity and journalist show, which ought to be which will be debuting in the next few weeks or so. But meanwhile, great crew tonight. Rick Curdy, welcome back. Double duty this week, as you always do, at least two a week, anyways. Welcome back to the exchange.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And Jacob Christner and I just came from the Pundits Pundit. And Jacob, before I want you to give everybody an overview of what we spoke about on Pundits earlier.
Oh, we had a pretty loaded show. One of the things we're going to be talking about next week is, we brought it up at the end of this show. It's talking about the bonus structure of the NFL. Then and then the money, and then all that stuff based off the fact of DeMar Hamlin. Then we talked about the NBA. We talked about not really the NBA, the WNBA, and the absolute poor promotion of women athletes. And then just kept going on and on. We have a pretty loaded show over that week. Excuse me.
Well, it seems like every show we do on Pundit is loaded. I mean,
come on. Oh yeah. We go into deeper topics. We go into deeper topics a lot of people won't hit.
Well, yeah, it's more of a magazine format. A lot of the things that we do here are very loaded too. Before I turn it over to George Eichhorn, I want to let everybody know that the Sports Exchange can actually be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. So whether you're on the subway, whether on your bicycle, whether you're walking, whatever, you can do that. And please, and if you're watching us via YouTube, please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. So, folks, please help us get there. We would greatly appreciate it. So, with that said, the final member of our crew is George Eichhorn. Welcome back, George.
Oh, it's good to be here with all you guys. Wonderful evening.
Well, we got some, we'll follow in the footsteps of Pundit. We got some pretty good topics on hand. So, hope you can stay with us for the entire broadcast. With that said, I have to start the show actually on another medical note. I don't like doing it, but unfortunately, the reality is the perception. Okay. Tua Tagovailoa is out versus Buffalo. He is not cleared by his doctors. First of all, guys, is the right decision, and it's a loaded question. Should he play again? Rick, I'm going to start off with you on this one.
He needs to retire. It's just no way. I mean, this guy's had 3 concussions. Probably had more than that. He's probably had like 7, to be quite honest with you. I think probably hung on there. But no, he should retire. I mean, with the CTE going around, the guy just can't stay healthy. I always thought he was a really great college quarterback, but in the pros, he's been okay. He's had a good year this year. This year was, I think, to me, a breakout year because he stayed healthy. But he's had way too many concussions. I keep hearing they might get him a special type of helmet, but I don't think that's going to help. So not only should he not play, he should retire.
Okay. Jacob?
I can agree with that, but I'll tell you this. You talk about that special helmet. That's the helmet is Kenny Pickett's now also in Pittsburgh. They're going to be probably bringing this to everybody now, regardless if they had the concussion or not. But I will say this. Yeah, do I believe that? I actually do because he's had too many of them. I have to say one big thing about Skylar Thompson, who's going to be taking over on Sunday. Excuse me. It's Sunday, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they're going to be I can say this part. From his dad was a coach called Palmyra, Missouri, which is about 15 miles from where I'm from, Quincy. It's a little farm town. And they basically be able to do all that and then coming all the way to the NFL like that. And the fact was he was on the practice squad. And now you're starting a playoff. Now you're going to get a playoff bonus. And do you know something? This helps anyone that's in these small towns to dream. You can dream, you can get there. And I'm happy for the kid. It's like I hated that happened because of Tua. I hated that happened because of all that kind of stuff. But you know something? He's good. In all honesty, the odds are they're dead. I mean, Buffalo is a monster. And you need a Tua to even have a chance. But you know something? And we remember how he did against the Jets. But you know something? This is something he can remember. And he's going to get that playoff bonus. And now he's going to probably get 4 or 5 years in the league. And he's going to get his pension. And that is telling you right off the bat right now, sometimes you just got to dream no matter where you're at.
Fair enough. George?
Well, I'm no medical expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a trainer, but there is a strong case in the case of Tua stepping aside. I would hate to see it happen, though. I mean, the kid's got a really good attitude. He loves the game of football. I would hate to see him go, but his health and his future and his livelihood after football are the most important things that he has to remember. And there are other things he can do in the sport of football, in the NFL. Coaching, scouting, whatever, front office work, community relations, on and on. So I know that there'll be a place for him in the organization should he be forced to retire early. And Jacob, you're right. A door closes on one fella and a door opens on another one. So that's always a good story in that regard, as far as who's stepping in to play for him. So I don't know. I mean, I hope there's a future for him, but it sure doesn't look good right now, Scott.
No, it doesn't. I've been following this team the last few years. And, you talk about a guy, and believe it or not, at one point they were talking about tanking to get Tua, but it just so happens he fell to him in the 5th round. And that may have gotten Brian Flores in trouble for probably losing his job. It's all hypothetical because they wanted to tank for Tua. And as it turns out, fate allowed them to draft him with the 5th overall pick anyhow, followed by Justin Herbert. Well, and it's sad, too, because Tua Tagovailoa came in here, with an injured past, and they were worried about his medical going into his career. And this is a year where I felt like he was having a breakout year. The team is 8-3, they're rolling, and all of a sudden these injuries beset on them. And let me tell you, when you talk about concussions, you're talking about me that I've had a few, and they're not fun. So I know the serious nature of these head injuries. I really do. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I wouldn't. So, it's definitely the right decision to not play him in Buffalo. They didn't win in Buffalo when he was in the lineup, I believe, and it was a close game. So the odds of them winning with, Skylar Thompson, I think, are very slim. And yes, Jacob, the Bills are a monster. Plus, they're playing on emotion. I'm happy for Skylar Thompson. He's getting his opportunity. And I think the emergence of Skylar Thompson is really a credit of the Miami Dolphins scouting staff that they found this guy anyways, and he made the club.
This is the thing also. What story do you want if you're Miami? This is the truth. What story do you want? The fact that you forced Tua back in because he's the quote-unquote star, and he gets hurt in the second quarter, and then they're already down 30, and then he might have to retire anyway, that made it worse.
Well, right.
Or a possibility of letting your defense carry it, a kid getting the chance at bonuses, a kid getting a chance at a league. We brought this up we're going to bring this up with the NFL and just give a little deal.
Right.
Everything, the bonus is guaranteed. A lot of things aren't. And it's like, if you can get yourself a chance at bonus, you get yourself a chance on teams, on backups, on everything. Guess what? There is your pension. After 4 years, you get a pension. Right. And it's like, and there's your thing. And see, most of the internet talks about, the stars. Most of them talk about fantasy. Oh, who's the best? Who's this? Who gets the numbers? Who gets all this? My head, I love that too, because I play fantasy with the sideline guys. But the biggest thing I look at all the time, the other players out there that aren't stars, they may make $1 million after 3 or 4 years. But after that 4th year, the pension. That they can get the rest of their lives when they get their family, when they get other jobs. And all that kind of stuff like that. And the thing is, the pension's gone down now, but they still get it.
Well, we got some activity in the chat room. Will Vogel says, I hate to be a pessimist, but I told people when he got drafted, he wouldn't have a long career. Well, yeah, you're a pessimist, but his injury history didn't help him. What's up, Denzel? Long time. This guy does an incredible job on Pundits. Thanks for being a part of it.
Yes, he does.
He does. So more props to our pal. So, yeah, so the reality to me, as far as I'm concerned, is, again, you're talking about a quarterback or player's well-being, and it's just a shame that it's early in his career that it's taking place and he's had it up. But I wish Skylar Thompson well, but you're playing against a team that's riding on emotion. And, it's bad enough to beat them straight up without the emotion part, but then add that intangible to it. What do you have? So I wish Tua well. I hope it's not the end of his career going into next year. And the Dolphins are going to have to make some decisions about what to do with him contractually as well, or whether they have to find another quarterback, which is just an unfortunate bad break. It really is. But business decisions have to be addressed as they always do at this time of the year. And I don't envy the one that has to make it there. So Tua, we always talk about prayers to you, Tua. We really do. I hope that, albeit you may not play this weekend, but I'm more concerned about the quality of life that you're going to have more so than your football career. And we've seen it too many times in recent weeks about careers being compromised because of unforeseen circumstances. George and I have lived it with the Chuck Hughes. I saw the Mike Utley situation, the Reggie Brown, and the list goes on and on. Dennis Byrd and all that. So I won't go into any deeper than that. So, though we're going to stay on a Miami subject, but a far different one than this. Last night, the Miami Heat went 40 for 40 from the free throw line in a 112-111 win over Oklahoma City. Let me say that again, 40 for 40 at the free throw line in a win over Oklahoma City, 112-111. Holy moly. 40 for 40, Rick Curdy. Unreal.
Wow, somebody can actually shoot free throws in the NBA. That's the big news, and they actually made it. So that's impressive, especially in today's world, because everybody wants to chuck it, make the 5-pointers and the crazy slam dunks. But yet, nobody practices free throws. And JB mentioned that I think like about a month ago, that if you're an NBA player and you can't shoot free throws, you shouldn't be in the NBA, because that's like one of the most easy, basic things you should learn to do a free throw. So that is an impressive feat. And today's standards, I think it's even more impressive. So I'm glad for the Miami Heat. They're a great team. I love Spoelstra, very underrated coach, never gets the respect that he should get. When LeBron left and all that, they thought, the Heat will be horrible, and they're not. They're a really good team. And 40 for 40, that's an impressive feat.
Yeah. Jacob?
Well, yeah. And I grew up with one of the greatest free throw shooters of all time. You already know this, Scott. I grew up with that. So it's like someone that would hit 71 in a row, 50 in a row, 39, 40. It's just like nothing. If I saw him miss one, if I see Bird miss one, okay, there'll be 2 weeks before he missed another one. It's just the way it was, and it pretty much was true. But you get all these people in the NBA now, and they can't hit anything. So here in 40 for 40 is awesome. And it's like, here's what I have to ask about the game, though. Truly, you won by 1 point, and it took every bit of those. You missed one, it's overtime.
That's true.
And it's like, so where was this? So they have to really, really ask what was Spoelstra saying to him in the locker room? It's like, we got this one, we got everything like that. We're lucky we got fouled, but what was it? Our defense? What was it? We have too many turnovers. There's something that has to be addressed here with why it took every ounce of those free throws to win the game.
That's true. Well, Will Vogel's on a roll. I got to ride with this guy a little bit. So here you go. ESPN made a joke instead of ESPN for 30 for 30. Call it Miami Heat 40 for 40. So we'll add a little candor to it. Good one, Will. They got to come up with that one. Okay, George.
Well, I go back to the days of Chris Schenkel and Jack Twyman calling the games on ABC. Mm-hmm. And I have never, ever heard of a team doing 40 for 40. That's incredible. I wonder who the referees were, and I wonder if they were called into question, because that's a lot of fouls that they called on the opposition, Oklahoma City. So I'd be curious to read the news clips and the post-game quotes from that to see if there was any foul-mouthed Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah, it is phenomenal. I mean, remember Rick Barry with the underhand? When Rick Barry got to the free throw line? I mean, you talk about Larry Bird, but man, Rick Barry. Yeah, we had a guy in Detroit named Terry Dissinger way back in the day, too. And Terry was a great free throw shooter. But I'll tell you what, guys, that's phenomenal, 40 for 40.
Well, what I love with the Larry Bird, but Rick Barry also, not only did they hit those free throws, and I'm saying Rick Barry also on this, not only did they do this, but it'd be 4 seconds left in the game and they're down 1, and they would take 3 seconds to think about it. and shoot.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, Rick Barry did too. Rick Barry did.
Yeah.
Take 2-3 seconds and shoot it. And it's once. I mean, did not even think about it. They're down 1, and they would do this, and it's like that is just confidence.
Oh yeah.
That is just. Everybody practices. There's people that might make it a thing, and their head gets blocked. But the idea that you're down 1, there might be a playoff on the line. There might be anything, or there might be a first place on the line. You're 3 seconds left. Pew, pew. I mean, just like within like 5 seconds, and then like nothing, and it's like that's just confidence.
Yeah.
That's sick confidence.
Well, let me tell you, years ago when I was living in Detroit, I was actually an assistant basketball coach for Oakland Community College, the Orchard Ridge, and I actually coached the free throws. And I used to take kids on the other side of the gym and make them shoot them all day long and say, concentrate, concentrate. And I had one of my players actually go out there and make a couple in a game, and he looked at me on the bench. That was a great feeling. So,
Oh yeah.
and I actually took a picture a while back with Rick Barry many years ago when he was in Miami interviewing for a job for Barry University trying to get basketball. So, but yeah, I want to double back on what Jacob said though. 40 for 40, and they needed every free throw to win that basketball game.
There's no defense anymore in the NBA. To me, when I was
there, you're going to ruin a subject I have lined up for JB when he comes back next week. So I know it's a statement. You're good. Yeah. I'm starting to make Rick Curdy a real superstar journalist here, so that's okay.
Mark Price was the one I saw. He was one of the best free throw shooters I ever saw. That guy never missed.
Who's this?
Who?
Mark Price.
Oh yeah.
Like every year, 90%. I mean, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was good.
But,
right,
but just think about, you brought that up, Rick, but just think about how great these players, like I said, not only are they that good, but the sheer confidence it takes that you go up to the free throw line, just shoot. I mean, you're just, okay, 1 second aim, done. It's like, you might be down 1 and they do that. It's not like they're not even thinking an extra second when they do it. That's just sick confidence. Yeah, and it's like it takes a special human being in that level to do that. It's like Montana going down the field in the Super Bowl. It's like it's the Super Bowl. Oh, hey, it's John Candy. I mean, it's like it takes something like that. There is athletes. Sorry about that, dude, Scott. There's athletes, and then there is superhuman.
It's called being in the zone, Jacob.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. One of Rick Curdy's favorite topics, and I was picking his brain a little the other day, and I decided I want to get under his skin a little because this will really get him going. What a difference a year makes for the Las Vegas Raiders. 2021, the interim coach, Rick Bisaccia, was 7-5 with a .583 percentage. This year, Josh McDaniels is 6-11, .353. All right, Rick, considering you love to talk about the Raiders, I had to bring up the coaching situation comparing the year. The floor is yours, Rick, and then we'll turn it over to these guys.
Mark Davis is one of the most idiotic owners in all of sports. Okay, the guy can't even get a decent haircut, and he's one of the poorest owners. Like here, we're going through this right now with the Panthers. The players want Steve Wilkes, they love him, everybody wants him, but the owner is like, yeah, I want a superstar. And we talked about this yesterday, Scott, about the NFL want these good-looking GQ young head coaches like the Matt LaFleurs and the McVays and and they just, it's all about the Belichick Kool-Aid. I don't know. McDaniels is just not a good coach. He's just not. I mean, I think he set a record for most blown double-digit leads with 6. And so the Raiders are a mess right now. They have no quarterback. Carr's gone. Wherever he goes, it'll be interesting. But they're a joke. Mark Davis is a terrible owner. And they should have kept Bisaccia, but they didn't. And that's what they get. And now he can't even get rid of him because you don't have money to buy out his contract, or he can't even hire a new coach because he's a poor owner. So he should have listened to the players because they probably be in the playoffs. This team is better this year than they were last year.
Right.
Because they got Devontae Adams, and he had a monster year. There's no reason for them to have this poor of a record. There's no reason for them lose having 6 games where you're up 17 points and you lose all of them, or you lost 20-0 to the Saints, 20-0 to the Saints. So it's a mess there, but it's all Mark Davis's fault. You should never hire Josh It's
McDaniels.
it's the Belichick Kool-Aid. Once again, we've seen it over and over again. They got Ziegler there, who used to be with the Patriots as well. It's just, he should have just listened to the players, but he
Well,
didn't.
yeah, the only footnote I'll add to this, I'm turning it over to Jacob, is that Jeff Saturday's lone win came against the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean that's the sad part. I mean, he lost to a guy that was on ESPN like 2 weeks ago, who has no head coaching experience and really got overwhelmed. I mean, it's pretty obvious what was going to happen with Jeff Saturday out there. You just kind of throw him out there. It would be like me coaching the Panthers. Just throw me out there, and it's like, what is this coach doing? Well, a week ago he was doing some podcasts on some TV with the South Florida Tribune. So what do you expect? So it's a
There
mess
you go.
there. I feel bad for them, but it's all Mark Davis's fault. It's
Well,
all
good.
on him.
I'm glad the way you promote the brand. Good stuff. You're a homer. Okay. All right, Jacob, give me your thoughts on.
Well, Rick, for one thing, you might do better on Saturday. And the reason I say that, and I'm just saying it in this boat, if you were thrown out there, the one thing that you would not try to do whatsoever is think that you know everything about the game. And now, This is the thing with Saturday. He played as a center. He was one of the great ones. There's all that kind of stuff. There's a thought process in his head that, well, I was out there, now I can be able to coach this. He tried things that were not going to work, that were older, there were just a bunch of different things. The reason I think you might do better is because you would go straight to your coaches. You'd go straight to your coaches all the time. You'd make sure to go hire better coaches. You'd make sure to get the thing done. You wouldn't pretend that you know the game all the way. And then you let the thing be as it may, which Saturday did not, especially after he won that game, which was probably deadly for him to win that game because he made him think he knew more than he did, and then he got murdered.
Yeah, and he got them all excited, like see, he's a good coach, and then all of a sudden he looks terrible. So yeah, it was kind of like a false hope.
But I'm sorry, Jacob. But with that in mind, though, I want you to evaluate the difference in the two coaches that you had, Bisaccia versus McDaniels. There's a situation where sometimes the best move you make is the one that you don't make, and unfortunately, the Raiders did.
Yeah, I love Bisaccia for one thing. It's like the players played very, very well for the guy. They run through a wall. See, they run through a wall for Dan Campbell too.
Right.
And it's like they run through him. It's like you got to have a certain balance when you're picking people. You got to have the thing. It's like Matt Nagy. Oh God, it's like the guy has plays all over his basement. Like all the plays in his basements and there, all that kind of stuff like that. He knows nothing but he knows every play from 1920 on. He is like a robot of plays, but he doesn't know how to put them into any kind of situational deal whatsoever. Doesn't trust his own judgments or anything. And then and it's like he did everything in 2018 and nothing after. And it's like he can't put him into situational stuff. I don't know about Rich Bisaccia knowing the game that well as far as the X's and O's. But he's a darn good, I'll say it, TED Talks. Phenomenal at it. He can get people motivated and they'll want to play for them. And he knows the game enough to do it, but he doesn't know enough to try to do the whole thing and call plays. He has people. And you have to have a fine line as a coach. And Rick, you brought up like good-looking guys like McVay and LaFleur and that. Here's the deal. They won games too. It's like they won games. And it's like, Josh McDaniel, he didn't. That's the thing that matters in the end. It's going to be even worse for Las Vegas next year, to be very honest.
Well, the only thing that Will Vogel points out, McDaniels is an offensive coordinator, not a NFL head coach. Well, yeah, you're right, but we'll see whether the second time is a charm. They need to get that quarterback situation. So, Will, I understand your position. Josh McDaniels, obviously, like Rick said, Mark Davis is broke. He can't afford to make a move if he wanted to.
Or get a haircut.
Yeah, that either. But Bisaccia, I think letting him go was a mistake. I mean, he had the team going in the right direction. With that said, George,
I agree with everything that's been said. I mean, even if you're not a good head coach, you got to surround yourselves with the talent that you need as far as your coordinators and your assistant coaches and that sort of thing. And this Davis guy, yeah, he's nothing like his father. He doesn't have an ounce of brains, I don't think, when it comes to good football knowledge decisions, because he blew it with this coaching change. He really did. I mean, they got so much going for them when they moved to Vegas, new stadium, new fans, sellout crowds and all that. and yet, they just cannot get over the hump. At least not with this guy. But I'm telling you, Davis, yeah, he's bad news, like you said, Rick. He's not a good manager, not a good owner, not a good general manager. Whatever he's trying to do out there is just screwing things up.
Well, it's safe to say we can all agree the honeymoon period is over in Vegas. Now they better start putting up some wins. All right, well, let's go on to a different situation. This team actually drew 70,050 fans last week in their win against the Tennessee Titans. Everybody ought to know that's where I'm going this weekend, by the way. It'll be the Jacksonville Jaguars and the LA Chargers. But the Jacksonville Jaguars are the first team to reach the playoffs after drafting number one in back-to-back years. Trevor Lawrence in 2021, Trayvon Walker 2022, and that Trayvon Walker gift led to Aiden Hutchinson with the Lions. All right, George, 2 number 1 picks, and the Jaguars are going to the playoffs. And, of course, it doesn't hurt that Doug Peterson is the pilot in charge of it all. What are your thoughts about the Jags?
Well, they're doing a tremendous job. They're creating a lot of excitement. For a team that had to always play a game in London every year and couldn't even fill the place up in Jacksonville, they're doing a hell of a job. I mean, I wish them good luck. It's going to be an exciting game. I'm glad that you're going to be there, Scott, because you and I know covering playoff football, there's nothing like it in the NFL, as we witnessed before here a few times in Detroit when we covered playoff games. But I'll tell you what, no, I'm happy for Jacksonville, happy for the fans, I'm happy for the city. And especially happy that the club is finally playing some good ball, and they deserve that playoff spot that they earned. For crying out loud, they earned that spot.
Yeah, I got to tell you something about TIAA Bank Stadium. It's really been a great place for me. I saw Super Bowl 39 there, and of course, I actually saw a playoff game when the Jaguars defeated the Buffalo Bills 10-3 before Buffalo defeated itself. And now I have an opportunity to go ahead and see this one over the weekend, plus a couple of dandies that led up to this one. The Tennessee victory, and of course the game against the Cowboys on the rails. So with that said, Rick Curdy, 2 number 1 picks, the Jaguars. Are you rooting for the Jaguars, by the way, on Saturday?
Absolutely. I'm a huge Doug Peterson fan. I mean, that guy is still beloved in Philadelphia. They love him so much over there. I mean, it's amazing. I think he's a great coach. People said he was overrated, but yeah, look what he's done in Jacksonville. He's not overrated. He's a great coach. We're talking about a tale of 2 different teams. We talked about the screwed up Raiders. Now we have a good organization. Shad Khan is a great owner. He's a very patient owner. He's put a lot of money, but he tries. He has a lot of heart, a lot of passion, and I'm glad it's working out with him. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, I saw this guy play. I said he's going to be the next Peyton Manning in the league, and people laughed at me. And, it was obvious who the problem was last year. It was Urban Meyer. He was a complete flop mess. He didn't even want to be there. And I still think he purposely tried to get himself fired. But now they got a coach that cares, that has passion. He took a year off. He's rejuvenated. He wants to prove people that I'm not a one-trick pony with Philadelphia. To me, he's the coach of the year. And I'm rooting for them. And man, they go to the Super. I'll root for them when they go to the. I'll be great if they win the Super Bowl. I mean, I just love what Jacksonville is doing right now.
Yeah, Peterson's incredible. My dealings with him the last couple of times I was there, he's pretty down to earth. And Trevor Lawrence, I mean, let's face the reality, nothing like a quarterback and a coach having a great relationship. And that's unreal. So I'm glad that Doug Peterson will save Trevor Lawrence from being ruined, a.k.a. bust. All right, Jacob.
Yeah, Peterson is loved in Philly now. It's now. Yeah, they ran him out. Just like they ran Charlie Manuel out. They run. This is the thing that drives me nuts about Philadelphia fans. They can't have patience. And it drives me absolutely insane. If you have 2 World Series, if you get your Super Bowl, you can shut up.
Right.
You can shut up. You got yours instead of having all these expectations. Because guess what? He got to a playoff next year. But what happened to everything? You had to wait a couple years again. This is the thing. It's like, we have high expectations. No, you're a grouch. No, you're a perpetual grouch is what you are. And it's like, drives me crazy. But the biggest thing about it is like him being the next Peyton Manning, I don't know. Do I think he's fine? Absolutely. I think he's a good quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. Year 3 is going to determine, not even the playoff, not even anything, because it wasn't him that got him to the playoff game. It was that defense. But it doesn't mean he didn't have a good year this year. He had some pretty darn good year this year. But it's just like year 3 will determine if he's going to be an absolute star in the league or middle of the road, which guess what? If you're middle of the road, you still go 10 years and you go to playoffs, then you have, okay, maybe you have to change things up a little bit. But either way, he had Urban Meyer the first year. The second year, the whole thing with bringing that up with the coaching thing, Justin Fields had to deal with Matt Nagy, and then he's had to dig out that hole. He's still trying to learn. I mean, he digressed with passing. So it's like it takes coaching. There's proper coaching, and sometimes it takes a while to come from a horrible coach and then get the patience to let yourself be coached and all that kind of stuff. And so it takes that time. Fields had to do it, and we'll see what happens in a third year. But either way.
Well, I mean, when you look at it from an overall standpoint, what Peterson told Lawrence was forget about last year, throw out the playbook, and you're starting all over. And how has it worked out? We all know that he's loved in that locker room. It was a culture change. We all know that Urban Meyer, to me.
Yeah. He hated being there. He didn't want to be there. It's obvious. And Doug Peterson was a quarterback. So that's what even makes it even much smoother transition is that he knows the position, he knows all that stuff. And I think that was one of the reasons he took the Jacksonville job was I got this guy here who can be the next superstar. And if I could just get him and mold him, he could be like Peyton Manning or John Elway. I mean, I can see that in him. And I mean, look at it. In the first year, I'm surprised that I knew Jacksonville would be improved. I didn't think they would like win the division and be in the playoffs.
Well, we'll put it to you this way, okay? Carson Wentz probably wishes he had Doug Peterson now after questioning the heck out of him. But with that said, we're going to go on to baseball. I know, Rick, you haven't had an opportunity to do that much the last couple of weeks, so we've been busy on football. But I assure you the last 2 topics are on baseball, and we're going to have a parting shot a little bit earlier than normal, which is okay. And yes, I love to bring up Bobby Bonilla again, because this time he's getting $1.2 million for 2022 salary, and Jordan Alvarez of the Houston Astros getting $700,000. When I heard this, I had no way I couldn't bring this one up. So, all right, Rick, you want to talk about Bonilla, Alvarez, or both?
I love talking about Bobby Bonilla. I remember when he signed that 5-year, $25 million contract, and it was like, whoa, that's a ton of money. And now it's like nothing. I mean, I think the average player makes $5 million a year, just an everyday player. So his agent needs to be in the Hall of Fame. That guy should be in the Hall of Fame. They should put a statue of him there, a plaque, greatest agent that ever lived. I mean, for him to still be getting money, and he's been retired for such a long time. I think it's great. Good for Bonilla. Good for his agent. Smart. Not so smart on the Mets, but great for him. I love Bobby Bonilla Day. That's my favorite day because it's like this dude. I remember when he retired. He's been gone for a long. I remember when he played and everything. He's been gone for a while. He's still getting money. So good for him.
And Jordan Alvarez, you dare to comment on that one?
Poor guy. Get a new agent.
Okay, good enough. All right. We'll move along to Jacob.
I'll tell you, you think about all this, and it's like, and I can think to a better guy, it couldn't happen. But this is the thing about Bonilla. He's done well in his, I think he's done pretty well in his post-baseball career. He gets $1 million every, July what?
July 4th, I think.
July 4th, yeah. He gets that kind of money. He'll get that $1 million, whatever he chooses to do with it, but he's still living. And it all depends on the people you get this with. Because could you imagine what would have happened if you would have done $1 million a year till 2035 with Allen Iverson? It'd been gone. And it's like, he'd probably been that part of that contract probably been gone 2 days. Just because the guy isn't, I mean, as much as he's trying to improve himself, he's still an alcoholic and a gambling addict. And so I wonder about that that $55 million that's supposed to be in there by 2035 for him. It's supposed to be when he's 55 years old. So I wonder those things. So it's just like money. It doesn't matter what money you get, is how do you handle it? And the thing is, Bobby Bonilla, no matter what, it looks like he's had a good life with this. But it's like these kind of money it could either be good for you and you invest it well, or it could be damaging. As far as Alvarez, I'll go with Rick. Get a new agent.
Yeah, right. All right, George. Before I let George talk, the only thing I'm going to say about it, I like the topic enough. It was worth mentioning on tonight's episode. And that's all I have to say. All right, George, you have the final word on this one.
Well, there's not much more I can add. I mean, Bonilla's got the bonus coming to him every year. What a great setup that is for him. And hopefully he's spending his money wisely, investing it in some good things. All of these players got to realize, their baseball career is short lived. Some of them last longer than others. I mean, we got guys that have been around a long time, like Justin Verlander, and then you got kids that are cashing in right now, like Aaron Judge, and the money's just being thrown out there. It's thrown out there, but man, you have to know how to manage it if you're a ball player or any sport, but especially baseball, because these free agent deals are through the roof right now. These owners are spending money like crazy on these free agents and long-term deals too. And Alvarez, you do need another agent. I definitely agree to that. But boy, oh boy, these guys are taking the owners to the bank. Some of them are, the cream of the crop. But the rest of them, no. Wisely manage that money. You're not going to be playing that sport and getting that money all the time. Bonilla's case was very different, very rare when he's got his July 4th payday every year.
Okay, final topic of the night. Then we go to parting shots. And I really like this one, too, because it's a mind-boggling stat of the day. It came from the Game Day. That's my source of. And sorry, Jordan Long, I didn't include this one last night for you because it is kind of like a Denver-based one, but that's okay. You haven't heard it before. But the Colorado Rockies postseason wins in their franchise history is 10. The Houston Astros, Rick Curdy's favorite team, 2020-22 postseason wins 11. God. Is mind-boggling the right term to describe this stat, Rick?
Yeah, it is pretty mind-boggling. I mean, even in today's sports where we see a lot of mind-boggling stats, that's a pretty mind-boggling stat. It's just one of those things you can't explain. It's how do you explain it? It's kind of like Nolan Ryan. He never won a Cy Young. And I always tell people, look at Greg Maddux. He never pitched a perfect game or no hitter. There's some things that just scratch your head that you just can't put around like you would think they would have or done that. So that's an interesting stat. It's a crazy stat, even for today's standards.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, think about it. The Colorado Rockies and their postseason wins 10 in their franchise history, and the Astros 2022 11. All right, Jacob, weigh in on this one.
Well, think about it. Just about all of them came with that going to that World Series.
Right, exactly.
So, but here's the thing too. It's going to get worse unless they get a superstar for a hometown deal, something along those lines, hypothetical.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse because the way that owners get paid now are not tickets. It's not by winning. It's by all the real estate around the stadiums. It's right. Like, and the people that are owning doing the ownership right now are building all that around the stadium. They're going to make all that real estate, make all that money through that end. So if they win, they get lucky, they're happy, they're all that kind of stuff. But it's about to get worse. Like I said, unless they find a way to get themselves hypothetical Aaron Judge from kind of discount. He had, it's like, I prayed about it and I got to go to Colorado, something along those lines. But I'll do it for $5 million a year. Unless you get something along those lines, it's not going to happen, and it's going to get worse for them because of the way that owners make money now.
Right.
So
George,
those are the things.
George?
Denver's a great baseball city. I've always admired the Rockies, but it is a shameful record, really. It's crazy. Like you said, Scott, 10 wins only. And, our friend Tony DeMarco, of course, covered the Rockies and he covered the Texas Rangers, two clubs that just never could put it together to win it all. And I really think that you're right, spot on, Jacob. I mean, we got an owner now in Detroit, Chris Ilitch, took over for his father. And what's one of the things he wants to do? He wants to build a high-rise on the parking lot that sits right next to Comerica Park downtown. Yeah. So that's it. That's a perfect example. Just this past week, he and his business partners went over to the Detroit Economic Development Commission, or whatever they're called, to ask for public funding. And you can't survive just on the sport of baseball. You can't, because even the ticket prices, I mean, you can only go so high, especially in these smaller markets like Denver and Detroit, or mid-sized market, let's call them, and Minnesota and places like that. You can't go much higher with some of these prices when you're signing all these guys. So what I'm saying is you do need other interests. You do need real estate. You do need marketing and promotion and other things to sell along with your ball club. But as far as the Rockies go, yeah, it's a tough sell. I mean, it's a tough challenge to get them to the top and to get them back to the World Series. It's going to be an awful tough thing.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about the Rockies, I covered spring training a few years ago. They were really great to the monitor. They really were. I got credentialed a couple times and wrote a couple stories, one of which was on DJ LeMay. The other one was on Chris Russin that had Detroit connection. So their PR staff, I couldn't thank them enough for the way they treated me and the Detroit Monitor, and Candy Ebling was taking pictures. So they were great. Yeah, I hope they get it figured out. We all know that Denver's a great sports town. I just found the stat to be very, very interesting that they have a little ways to go. I really do.
The ownership needs to, they're cheap and they need to get like a big superstar. Remember when the Avalanche got Patrick Waugh? Waugh?
Yeah.
And that was amazing. They need their own Patrick Waugh there. They need
don't forget Forsberg too. Forsberg.
Yeah, no, George. Rick Curdy has that thing about Patrick Waugh. Forget about Forsberg, okay?
No. He's talking about ninjas. Whoa.
Yeah, well, I remember
right,
when John Elway, they asked him, "What do you think about Patrick Waugh?" He goes, "Why isn't it Roy?"
Yeah, right. I heard that too.
And everybody started laughing.
Jacob, you guys are hearing this for the first time. Rick Curdy has a thing about Patrick Waugh, and every opportunity he gets to talk about hockey, he does. So, there's no reason to think. I mean, you're talking about a guy like Rick Curdy. Once upon a time, when I did a Mount Rushmore show, tried to bend the rules and had 5. I said, "No, Rick, it's 4. Have you done your math? Have you done your arithmetic? No, I want to do 5." I said, "You're doing 4," until he finally succumbed and did it. But no, every time Rick Curdy gets an opportunity to say Patrick Waugh, then you know what? We got to let him do it because that's why he got the Mr. Opinion, and we ought to call him Mr. Waugh. Okay,
yeah, Chris Bryant is not Patrick Waugh. I'll put it that way.
All right, well, that's too funny.
Yeah, no, I hope they get it figured out in Denver. They are a great sports town. It's evidenced by how they've supported the Broncos, how they support the Avalanche. And the Nuggets have never been to a finals, but maybe there's hope there too. I know one of my old friends that used to work for the Florida Panthers. Her name was Katie Gauss, who I got to work with for a year. She's a sweetheart. And she got a Stanley Cup before the Panthers did because she covered the Stanley Cup finals, is what she did right when she moved to Denver from Miami. So go figure. All right, well, you know what? We're going to do some parting shots. How's that sound? All right, Rick Curdy, lead off.
Well, I've been talking about the diva athletes, like LeBron and Tom Brady, they're divas, Aaron Rodgers, divas. Well, we got some diva head coaches too. And I am so tired of Sean McVay and Jim Harbaugh. I'm going to retire because I'm not happy. I don't want to be part of. Shut up, Sean McVay. You're a good-looking 37-year-old guy, multimillionaire, model wife, living in Los Angeles. Go away, okay? If you want to retire, go away. You're acting like a big baby. You had one bad year. You're like this prodigy growing up. You're a great coach. But if you want to step away, step away. I'm so sick of your whining and complaining. And Jim Harbaugh, and George can agree with me on this, get so tired of, I'm staying in Michigan. I'm staying. I'm not going. He called David Tepper up and was asking about the Carolina Panther job. It was Harbaugh that called Tepper, not Tepper calling Harbaugh. And now he interviewed with the Denver Broncos. So I don't, just be consistent. If you're going to leave, just leave, and Harbaugh has the nerve to come out and say, I'm enthusiastically excited to be back in Michigan next year. I mean, really, you're interviewing with the Broncos. It's obvious you want to go to the NFL. So, and that hurts recruiting. And that's the thing. It hurts recruiting. Who in the world is going to go to Michigan knowing that Harbaugh might leave? And then there's these sanctions looming and they might get another new coach. And, that's one good advantage for the transfer portal. They can say, hey, I was there a year. Harbaugh ditched us. I'm gone. So that's one advantage of the transfer portal that I do like. But Sean McVay, Jim Harbaugh, just be consistent. If you want to be in the NFL, go to the NFL. If you want to retire, retire. I'm just so sick of this belly aching. Just make up your mind and stop lying to everybody about it.
Okay, Jacob.
when Justin Fields got drafted, I wasn't impressed I wasn't half impressed until we got ourselves a second night, a offensive lineman. That's when I was like, okay, there's a possible chance. But I didn't want Justin Fields there in the first place. It's because the minute he got there, it became a rebuild that was unnecessary, kind of like Garpax and the Bulls. The unnecessary rebuild. It became that all of a sudden. And then another thing, I knew, because I've known Bears fans for all the 15 years. I've known this. They will, anything that looks flashy, they want the cool kid to look at him. Justin Fields is the cool kid. And what do they do now? They turn him into a circus act.
Right.
The Bears are 3-14 this year. Yeah, they got the number 1 pick. But guess what? I know. I think of things that you fans don't. It's like, guess what? Now there's people thinking about trading him. I think of these things a couple of years ahead. But guess what? You know what you're thinking about? Your fantasy team, your Madden, and your entertainment. The Bears need a winner in Chicago. They had the cool guy in Chicago. It was Jim McMahon. And you want to know what he did? Only 25 straight wins. 25 straight wins in the regular season and got a Super Bowl. Got 3 NFC title games. That's what he got. That's what they got for cool then. Now you know what we got for cool? 5-20. Under 60% throwing. In an era that you need 65. And in a possibility that you're trying this all over again. The Bears have to restart it again. I said in the beginning to replace Mitchell Trubisky properly. You wanted to hate him so badly that you wanted to get Nick Foles, and it ruined this. And then you had to force him back in. And then you wanted to put Justin Fields back in so he can take Mitch Trubisky's rookie records. He did none of that. Every bit of this is your ego, Bears fans. Every bit of it. And the Bears front office keeps listening to you. This has got to stop. Guess what, front office? I hope you hear me one day. Bears fans aren't going to stop coming to the games, including if you start winning. Quit listening to them. This has been happening for 15 years. Make up your own mind.
George?
How do I follow and act like that? Oh, my gosh.
Well, you are.
Well, the Detroit Tigers and Scott Harris, the president of baseball operations, made a big decision today. They're hoping for some magic to be at Comerica Park as they decided to move in the fences. And what effect will this have on the team? We don't know. They don't have that much of a team anyways to start with. And now you're going to expect the pitching staff to not allow as many home runs at Comerica Park. It's going to be interesting, but I think it was a wise decision. It's too spacious of a ballpark, especially in center and left center. And the Tigers did need to move those fences in. So I'm happy for Scott Harris today that he made the decision to bring the fences in at Comerica Park. And now let's see if he can match that with obtaining some more talent for this team. That's my 2 cents worth today, Scott.
Okay, well, my parting shot is on Stetson Bennett. Age 25, wins a national title playing against 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and he's won 2 of them. My goodness, go figure. The former walk-on has 2 titles. Let's just see if he becomes an adequate pro quarterback, which many of us don't think he will. Will he become the next Chris Weinke? Maybe. I don't know. They're in their mid-20s. How long do you have to – what is the average age of today's college quarterback? Do they get to play 5, 7, 8 years because of every redshirt rule on the planet? I don't know. All I can say is congratulations, Stetson Bennett. You're probably going to end up in the College Football Hall of Fame because you won 2 championships. You even get to join Reggie Bush, who lost his Heisman Trophy, but boy, he gets to go in the College Football Hall of Fame as a consolation prize. You even get to join Tim Tebow in there, who obviously does at least have 1 playoff win, but Tim Tebow is one of the best college quarterbacks. But who, it's anybody's guess, where Stetson Bennett's career is going to go afterwards. But you know what? Regardless of what it is, it's a marvelous story that he's a walk-on and won 2 national championships at Georgia and broke a long drought nonetheless, much to the dismay of TCU losing 62-7. Oh my goodness. Monday Night Football this week, college style, looked probably as bad as The Exorcist. And I remember that movie many years ago. And I'm not getting too graphic in case you guys are going, a lot of our audience is going to bed. So with that said, congratulations, Stetson, on your 2 titles. I'll be curious to see where your pro career is. And you know what? I might even give him a puncher's chance at a pro career, even if it's in the USFL or the XFL.
He's an economics major. He's an economics major. He'll own businesses forever and become a multi.
He'll be the next AJ McCarron in the NFL.
Probably. You know what? I've seen crazier things happen. So as long as you got 3 pro leagues, I don't know. But yeah, I like what you're saying. He's an economic major. But you know what? He can count to 2. 1, 2 national championships. Mm-hmm. All right. With that said, just want to let everybody know that the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, the South Florida Tribune, and we're striving for 1,000 subscribers. So all you have to do, folks, go to youtube.com, find the South Florida Tribune. Please subscribe to our channel. We would greatly appreciate it. We hope a lot of you enjoyed this edition of the Sports Exchange. We're going to go around the horn here with Rick Curdy. Let everybody know how they go get a hold of you, Rick.
Well, you can find me on my website, www.charlottebats.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Twitter, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. If you have any comments or questions, please email me at cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com and sign our petition to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, Jacob, you're next.
Jake the Pundit on Twitter, if you wanted to see my walk on eggshells way of doing tweets. No. and then Sunday nights I'm on Basket Bros, Scott and everybody else. Monday nights I am Pundit Views, which I had Scott on. So we're becoming like brothers from other mothers. And it's like Pundit Views, which I'm doing interviews one-on-one, which I got a couple of big ones coming up. Let's see. Tuesday nights during the season will be confidential. Wednesday nights doubleheader. Pundits pundit in this. Thursday nights, which we'll have some news soon, is Yin and Yang with TJ Sanson. Every once in a while, Fridays I am when they call me. It is on Gauntlet, and then back to the thing again, and then a bunch of things going on. Got movies doing and a stage play. So working on things. Stage reading. Excuse me.
Good stuff. And once again, thanks for having me on Pundit's View on Monday night. It was a blast. It really was.
No problem at all.
It was a lot. And I'm looking forward to see the opportunity that Rick and George get their crack at it. All right, George, go ahead. Obviously, you have your book reading.
I have a book. Yeah, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. And sad to report that Van Patrick, our all-time great Lions announcer, his son just died. Our sympathy to the Patrick family as Van's son passed away. He's in my book, Van Patrick. One of the great announcers that's in the book, along with Ernie Harwell and Ty and Bruce Martin. And Scott, you're in my book too, because you have been part of this Motor City and South Florida broadcast scene for quite a number of years now. And I recall the pictures of you with Muhammad Ali and I believe Jimmy Connors in my book. And you could get a link. There's a link to the book. How do you get the book? There's a link to the book at Motor City Tribune on the South Florida Tribune website, which I write for. I also write for the Detroit Monitor here in Detroit. And I'm on Fire Up Michigan every Monday night, as well as you can find me on Yahoo and social media and all that fun stuff as well. So good to be part of this show as well tonight, the Sports Exchange.
Yeah, George mainly contributes here on the air with the Sports Exchange, our version on Wednesday. We're going to be doing another one on our own on a date to be determined, as well as Fire Up Michigan. And I've known George pretty much my whole life. I've been in the business 43 years, and he's a major reason that I've stayed in it because we've been able to work together on so many incredible projects. And I couldn't think of a better person to have alongside of me for this ride here than George. And, of course, Jacob and Rick, JB Ellis, and the rest of the group. What can I say? You guys are incredible people as well. But that said, just a couple other basic information. If you folks want to go to our website, go to www.southfloridatribune.com. Candy Ebling does a super job as our controller on the website, making sure stories and broadcasts get posted in a timely manner. Also, on my screen, if you're watching us on the visual side, you can find me on Twitter at Tribune South, and you can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com as well. So lots of different ways to get a hold of us. If you come up with a meaningful suggestion for a broadcast, I might even invite you on to interact with the rest of us here as well. So meanwhile, awesome job by Rick. And Rick, I just want to say thank you for continuously helping us on social media as well. And Jacob, you're certainly one of the best finds I've had all year, you know. And
It's been awesome. It's been awesome being around you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, there's a mutual respect there with all you guys. Jacob, obviously, the latest person that I've met, and George, well, what can I say about you? So, but with that
George,
said,
I'm trying to catch up to you with the gray hair.
well, I have a great
That's right.
I have a great South Florida Tribune hat, compliments of my sister-in-law Marie Shepik out in.
Rick, it's your turn to catch up to us with the gray hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does pretty good job keeping the color, you know. But my sister-in-law Marie Shepik got it for me for my birthday recently. So, with that said, I want to thank everybody once again for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange, and we will catch you next Wednesday night. Take care and have yourself a great weekend. And we appreciate you joining us tonight. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah.
Good night.